what's happening when we integrate the different type of technologies in place. And this is a technology risk. When we are becoming dependent on technology once again, then there is a complexity with the explainability of the results of the AI, where there is difficulty of integrating the tool, having the data being complex, or actually the entire infrastructure having the holes where the compliance risks might actually interfere.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Engatica interview series. I'm your host, Kimberly, and we're really glad to have you join us today. We have with us a very special guest. We have Dr. Valeria Sadovykh, technology strategist at Microsoft, on the show. Welcome to the show, Valeria. It is so nice to have you.
Thank you, Kimberly, so much. I'm excited to be here, and I'm so looking forward to our conversation.
Before we dive into this crazy interview and amazing questions that we have for you, let me tell you what Engatica is all about. The Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers worldwide, a platform that provides the latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that will help you grow your business. Come be a part of our community where we learn, share, and grow together. Well, Valeria, I am super happy to have this conversation with you today. And I was really going through your profile, and I really want to know from you, what are you working on right now? What are you really passionate about? Why do you do what you do? And all about that.
Sure, I will give you a bit of background about myself and what I do. So I work at Microsoft, and I work quite a lot on the project that's specifically focusing on implementation of AI, intelligent automation, and big data. However, on the side, I'm an academic. I have a PhD from University of Auckland on information systems, where I specifically focus on decision-making, human online decision-making, decision intelligence, AI and machine learning, ethical AI, and responsible AI. So when I have my practical examples at Microsoft, I also have my theoretical research at the university. I'm actually in a position to combine it and give some sort of a thought leadership, academic research, practical research. So that's basically my passion. I can see the practical implementation, and I can see the theory working together.
Right. So it is like a very joyous and I'm sure a very bumpy ride as to you covering all these aspects in technology. And we're so glad to have you join us. Well, that leads me to my first question for you is, can you help us understand the AI governance framework and how companies actually are using it?
Yes, so I think we should kind of step back and go to the basics, right? So every technology has got a bright side and it's got a dark side, right? And we also easily accepting the bright side. However, there is a dark side, and that needs to be, and both of those sides needs to go through GRC, and GRC is governance, risk, and compliance. So what do we mean by this is because we need to govern the bright side, but we also need to identify and eliminate the dark side. And every technology also has got the risks, and those risks needs to go through certain processes. They need to be identified, they need to be measured, whether they need to be understood, whether it is regulatory risk, organizational risk, and people risk, right? And there is a compliance. We all human beings, we all live in a certain environment, and this certain environment's got some sort of golden standards and rules that we need to follow. Another aspect to reckon about the AI governance framework, that it's a kind of a new discipline, but this new discipline is becoming so important and so essential. So it's kind of a similarity. We can drive from a similarity to quality standards, right? Quality check that now we have in organization for years. So that's how we came actually to setting up a governance framework. And what is it used for, as I mentioned before, is to actually definition and implementation of policies, processes, and ethical principles. It's also often, it should be used in an organization as setting up a governance structure. Who is actually responsible in governing technology? Who is actually responsible to check if the systems that have been designed properly? Who is responsible for biases detection? And it also needs to measure the risk, measure the evaluation of the systems and the results, and it needs to help with identification of the biases. How can we make sure that the systems are actually bias-free? However, I also need to mention one of the most important facts, that every organization is going to be in a different context, right? And it's using AI, whether for internal or external use, for their own certain criteria. That's why they will have a different set of the governance framework where they will focus more or less on certain aspects. However, this GSC is a kind of the heart, right? We need to govern, we need to identify the risk, and we need to comply with the certain rules and standards.
You have very clearly and precisely mentioned all of the aspects of this framework. Thank you so much. This was really very insightful. On a different question, how can we really use AI for social innovation, and what really is social innovation?
This is actually like, this is a bright side of AI, right? That we all get so excited all the time, and it's essential. But in summary, right, just to summarize, we have 17 UN sustainable goals, right, that cover from the poverty, education, healthcare, environment, right? And actually, if we look into those 17 sustainable goals, each of these goals can be met by AI. Some of the goals are already using AI to the extreme that most of them are becoming technology oriented. Some of them are just pick up. And we know lots of basic examples that is out there, how AI changed the healthcare. We can look at the COVID, the tracking of the virus, the development of the vaccine. We can also look at the education, and the education becoming more accessible for people in the remote areas. We saw quite a few examples of the helping for social processes, right? For helping with the crime, with the surveillance, human trafficking, and etc. So that's becoming like, it's in our everyday life, right? But it also needs to be governed, of course, because there is a good side of technology and there is a dark side of technology. For example, we have the face tracking mechanism. They can be used as the crime protection, but they can also be misused, where the data can be used in a different application that it's preventing the privacy. So there is the kind of well-known impressive use cases of AI, and there is obviously a bleeding edge of AI. For example, how we know the brain transplants, they're working with the human cells. It's doing massive changes in fertility services, right? So now mothers are actually can identify the risk of having babies with certain disease or not having disease in advance. So some of the people might argue that AI actually entering our human existence, but some people might argue that AI is actually helping us with giving a better population. So it's always a gain, right, and dark side, and it's up to us how we can use. But one thing I would add to our conversation is it's our sole responsibility to use technology. We shouldn't be relying on big organizations to use AI for good, because AI is now, and technology is full of tools and applications that can be used for personal, can be used personally for help of our society. For example, we can start calculating our emission footprint, right? We can use it for well-being, we can use it for self-care, we can use it for care of other people. So it's not only on an organizational level, it's also already existing individual level, and we are the one responsible to actually use AI for good.
Yes, you have very clearly mentioned how AI was not just a big thing. It is actually an activity that we're performing in our day-to-day activities. And it is so surprising to know that in all these domains that you've mentioned, like poverty, you have healthcare and all of this, how it has really, helped AI. Has helped. So I would really like you to maybe go more in detail about how we can go and build a decision intelligence in these respective domains.
That's one of the most important things. You said respective domains. Those domains depend heavily on the context, right? If it's going to be healthcare, it's going to be more regulated. If it's going to be surveillance, privacy, and so on, that will be different sets. However, the decision intelligence, the concept of decision intelligence is not like we can build it in and leave it as it is. It's a continuous process. We're building decision intelligence in the system, similar way how we build decision intelligence in the human being, right? It's a continuous, it's never ends. We're always getting more intelligent by reading, by learning new information and so on. The same as actually, that's what's happening with the AI system. And that's one of the big difference between just the software and the smart AI tools. However, there are some sort of like a basic set of steps that we follow in software development, but we also follow in the AI development. And one of them, as I mentioned, for example, the first one is the business understanding, context understanding, problem definition. What is it about, which field, why are we doing it? The second one in AI is essential, right? And it goes all of the ethical standards and principles, is the data. Where we're getting data, how we're processing data, how we're preparing the data, how we're cleaning the data, how we're integrating the data with our system. And then the third that we start looking into the process of the decision intelligence, we actually start building the model, or we are selecting the already existing model, whatever model our developers decide to use, and we start training this model. Once this is complete, we go into the more detailed of the feature selection, which feature that we build is actually meets our business context and actually gives us a response. And then there are other activities that we do that identify us from just the software development, such as we evaluate the results, we deploy the results, we monitor the results, and we apply some sort of explainability, ability to read the result, explain the results, test the results for ethics, test the results for biases. And then another thing is a continuous improvement. And that's also similar to human beings, right? We are continuously improving how we're filtering the data, what type of new data do we put into the systems, how does it treat, what is the results it gives? Because it's one of the main factors. AI is not biased, the human beings are biased. We are giving the data that's been based on generation of our interactions, of our history, right? So it's not a fault of AI that is crunching the data that we supply. So actually the faults are with us. We are the human beings that we are biased, not the technology. And we are the one that building the technology, right? But this is the system. This is the system, the deployment process, the development process, whatever, how we decide to call it. Another aspect to mention is the people who works within this process. They also need to be intelligent, right? They need to be up to date with the legislation. They need to be up to date with the ethical standards. They need to understand the end user. They need to understand the business context. So it's all in integration. It's not only developers. There should be some subject matter experts. There should be some ethical people in the process, and the business as well.
Correct. I really liked one point where you said that, technology is not biased. We are. And very recently, I came across this post that said, AI is not really changing the world, but a human being using AI correctly is. And that really, took me to all of these insights that I know, read on the internet, that it is how we use technology and AI that will help grow.
I think there is a saying also that the more artificial intelligence enters our life, the more emotional intelligence we need to bring. And some of the important aspects that we will all start facing and questioning us is, what is the difference between AI and what is the difference between a human being? Because everyone knows that now it's becoming AI is extremely smart, and it's all the discussion about the ChatGPT and etc. But this is the emotional aspect that later will come on. That maybe we actually will achieve, the technology will be unbiased, but the human beings still going to stay biased. Who knows?
Well, definitely, you're right. Thank you for this very, very new perspective. You spoke about the dark side of technology. What are the biggest risks that come into picture while implementing AI and, converging with multiple technologies?
Once again, because I'm using my theoretical mind and thinking, there are always a set of standard risks that either within the organization or within the individual life and within the context, but usually those risks for those AI implementation and system integration are across set of factors, important factors. It's organizational risks, right? Those risks are specifically on the reputation, the market share, how much are we going to gain with the new software being in place, how much are we going to lose. Also, organizations start getting scary now that becoming heavily dependent on AI. That they will be there is no kind of what's going to happen with the organization if the technology is going to go away, because it's also the new set of skills. The second risk is actually people, right? It's the end user impact. How's the end user is going to react on this? Is it positively? Is it the bright side? Or is it the negative side? How it's going to be governed? Is our end users actually educated? But from the end user's perspective, when they look at the AI, they are getting concerned with the job displacement and automation, right? And now we're living in the most probably interesting place where even technology companies are also trying to becoming more AI oriented, more smarter, more intelligent. There is also one of the risks that people quite not often think about it from the organizational, from the system perspective, is the process risk, right? And this goes back into the what type of data do we get? How do we do the checkpoints? Where's the governance? Where the ethics? Who is governing our process? Do we have the right mechanism in place to actually put the right tool into the production? And as you mentioned, what's happening when we integrate the different type of technologies in place? And this is a technology risk. When we are becoming dependent on technology once again, then there is a complexity with the explainability of the results of the AI, where there is difficulty of integrating the tool, having the data being complex, or actually the entire infrastructure having the holes where the compliance risks might actually interfere. And another factor that quite often people think, some organization not to think, argue that it's external factors, and those external factors actually goes, what are the ethical regulations currently in place, and do we have any ethical regulations in place, and what are the ethical risks can be there, and as well as what is the current market asking for, what is the current market situation, what is the financial situation. This actually can impact the entire ecosystem of the tool development.
Yes, this was pretty insightful. Thank you so much, Valeria. It was really lovely having you on the show. Thank you so much for your valuable insights.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for actually interviewing me, asking me to participate in your project. That's something new I always learn.
Thank you so much. It is always an honor to have someone like you. We look forward to more collaborations and conversations like these. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon so you get access to exclusive content coming from thought leaders from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you with a new expert soon.